Hello, welcome to the Razcast. We have Luna, we have
Hello.
Vade,
Hello, guys.
and we have someone very special that's on location right now, Katz. And he's literally, where are you at, Katz?
So I'm just outside of Hotel Hartenstein right now. So that's just across the road over there beyond the VIP tent. And as I speak, we've got the parachute regiment who are jumping in. I don't know if you can see the trails already, but they're already in the sky. And so right in front of me by the memorial for Arnhem and the battles and actions around Oosterbeek, this is where they should be landing shortly. So fantastic to be on location on the anniversary of Market Garden, surrounded by some incredible machines today, which has been absolutely brilliant. So I thought it's 40 minutes from where I live, so why not make the most of it and come down and showcase to you guys.
That is super cool. Yeah, I was telling him, I was like, you need to go around and be like, do you know who I am? Like that. Too
Yeah, you should
funny.
be in that VIP tent.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
He should be dropping right now. But awesome. Welcome, everyone. I know we have a lot of people here joining up, so hope you guys are all having a great day. So the Razcast is an occasional podcast we do. We typically focus on our hardcore first-person shooter games. Fresh Baked Goods, unfortunately, wasn't able to make it today. But again, we have Vade, an expert at Postscriptum, aka Squad 44. And again, we have our developers here with us. So we have a packed show here and super excited to go ahead and kind of cover. Wanted to approach this. We did have some Q&A, but wanted to kind of approach it from a way that some folks, specifically my audience, is not very familiar with Squad 44. So wanted to make sure that they had the ability to learn a little bit more about it, like where they've come from, what they're doing now, and kind of a little bit of like teaser. If you didn't know, they're doing the Pacific, like what they're doing in the future. So super, super, super excited to get started. So I figured let's go around and just kind of introduce ourselves to the audience. Again, may or may not have met you guys. So I suppose, Katz, you're right above me. Let's start clockwise here.
So I'm the project manager for Mercury Arts. I run most of the sort of putting the overall things together. I can't claim to be an expert in any specific area, but I'm there to make sure that the guys are always on track and liaise with Offworld to make sure that we've got that good relationship going to keep developing the game. And so I'm one of those behind the roadmaps for the game that we start pushing and planning for what's going to come in the next year. And that's me.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And the last time Katz and I had an interview, unfortunately, it wasn't a great turnout. So I'm really happy that things have turned around and we're in a lot better place now. I know. No. But super happy things have turned all around in Katz, and super happy this is our next debut together on the podcast. We'll turn around to Luna here.
Hello, I am Luna. I'm the community manager for Squad 44 at Offworld. I've been at Offworld now, coming up on my year anniversary in November. And yeah, we acquired Squad 44. It was November, December, I think we announced that. I think it was 2 weeks after I had started that we made that announcement. So yeah, here since the acquisition, and it's been ups and downs, but we're going up and we're super happy with how things are going right now, and we're just super excited for the Pacific.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And if you don't know this guy, you've been probably living under a rock. Vade, let's get a quick introduction to maybe some folks that haven't known you.
Well, hello. I'm Vade. Please stop it, Raz. You're embarrassing me again. Basically, I've just been playing the game for years. Oh, yeah, I am. That's why I don't have a camera on. Yeah, so basically, that's all my credentials. I just play the game, and I'm very happy to be tagging along for the ride. And yeah, as you said, I mean, it's amazing what the game has been through, and I'm so happy to see everything we're getting now, basically, to see the game in the place it is now is amazing. So yeah, that's all I could have ever dreamt for, basically, and all I hoped for all these years, or like the last year, really. Yeah, so really happy to be here and to see what Postscriptum has become, really.
Awesome. And I'm very fortunate to have Vade here with us. I, if you don't know, like I play mainly Hella Loose. My name is Razbora. And I do occasionally play Squad 44. I really enjoyed it personally, but I am in no way an expert. So I'm really glad to have Vade here with me. That is an expert at the game to really be able to speak on behalf of a lot of the Squad 44 core community that have been supporting it for so long. So thank you guys so much for being here today. And again, like super cool Katz is on location. So kind of want to just get started, get to know you guys a little more in the sense of like, what has the team accomplished? Kind of like, what's your background and like getting to where we are today? So I don't know, Katz, Luna, like what are some of the challenges we've kind of run into and now like we've come up with what 3-4 updates now since you guys have taken over? Quite a bit.
Oh, a few, yeah.
Yeah.
4 or 5, yeah.
Yeah, 4 or 5, yeah. And it's only been what, like a handful of months, not even a year yet, right?
Not even a year. No. The Mercury Arts guys, I say this every time. They have full-time jobs, which blows my mind. They have regular full-time jobs that are not developing Squad 44, and the amount of work that they get done each update, like they're like, oh yeah, this is going to be a small update, and then the changelog I get is like 9 pages, and I'm like,
Yeah.
you guys are nuts. I mean, I'm so happy for it, but it's like they do so much work. It's so cool.
We're pretty clueless how big studios are so slow on it, really. So yeah, for all of our guys being part-time, putting out loads of stuff each time, we're pretty proud with what we've been pushing so far as a team. We know there's lots more to do, but yeah, very, very proud of the team and the guys for how hard they work.
So what were some of, like when you guys took over, right? Again, for us onlookers, it was kind of like out of nowhere, out of left field, super exciting. Like what were some of the biggest challenges you initially had just day one coming into it?
I think I'm not a techie person. I'm not a coder or anything like that, but I think there was a bit of tech debt that did come with Squad 44. I don't know at what point, because I know they did come from Squad. I don't know at what point it diverted. So I don't know how similar the code was or how, how that goes. But I think that sort of came in and the Mercury Arts guys were just sort of thrown that and they had to work with that. But they've, done a really good job dealing with the things that come up. And I think that's for any game dev project, like you work on something and like bugs will come up that you never even expected. And you're like, what the hell is this? Working it through that. Katz, you could probably comment more on what were the struggles initially.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, it's the entire architecture, right? Because the game was owned by another developer, and then we had to kind of take it on. And it's not just as simple as someone just hands you a file. It's obviously a very, very large thing, so we have to have then build machines set up so we can build things from it. We have to have certain assets transferred over, not just kind of like this, here's an Unreal Engine 4.27 engine. It's just so much architecture goes on behind the scenes. So like we've had difficulties with automating the SDK build. So we eventually got that working, and then we've had issues with it. And that's because of this tech debt that Luna's kind of raised. Because if it was just very, very smooth and everything was handed over in working condition, machines, everything, then it'd be relatively okay. But it's effectively reinventing the wheel to some degree. That you've got to do your own build machine, you've got to have your own perforce pipelines, you've got to have all of this sort of it's all the infrastructure behind making the game rather than just the code in the game itself. And that hamstrung us for about 3-4 months. And then that tied to, again, another form of tech debt, which I guess was, people talked about spaghetti code, and we were handed a game of spaghetti code with no documentation for it. So for the new coders coming in, not only was it a bit spaghetti, but if you're in any form of professional industry, you have like handover notes, right? So someone else can come in. Well, our coders didn't have any of that. They've just had to go their own way, and we've come across bugs by accident. We've found solutions by accident, and so it's been very eye-opening on the tech side. Very, very much going from modders to having to take it seriously, so to speak.
Yeah, I could only imagine. I mean, like, I think again, the game I play is no stranger to spaghetti code as well. But I think the difference between the game I play versus the game you guys are running here is literally like Periscope was gone in like a day. Where to your point, Katz,
Yeah.
it's not like, yeah, okay, you know,
There's no handover.
here's our handoff. Yeah. It was just like, all right, we're gone. See ya. And then it's like picking it back up. So I can imagine that's super difficult.
So also as well, so when you think about our first update, there was stuff in the first update we didn't know about because we didn't get a sort of handover. So you've kind of got a case where any changes to the game that's been made by the previous dev isn't documented. So between their last release and our first, there may have been changes that they made that we had no record of. So you can imagine going into this, you're kind of like, I hope everything's still working. Unlucky enough it did, but that's kind of the challenge we've had. No handover, rebuilding all the infrastructure behind, learning the kind of code in and out, and all doing this while part-time. So it's been intriguing, yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's tough. And so your company, right, Luna, has Offworld Industries has purchased Squad 44 as part of like their overall studio, right? Has there been any and I guess maybe Katz, this would be more pointed towards you, and Luna, feel free to weigh in. Like, has there been any benefit in having the fact that Squad 44 runs on a somewhat similar engine? I know it's diverted quite a bit, but somewhat similar engine as Squad, which is your main, platform there. Like, is there any benefit of having the game under the same umbrella as Squad in reference to like resources, assets, knowledge of the engine, etc.?
Yeah, absolutely. We have something called the OWI core, just sort of like our main sort of code base that the games run off of. There's a lot of things from like the squad devs that we could use. I think when it came to the 100-player servers, to make sure that we had stability and stuff like that, one of the squad programmers was like, hey, we added this sort of thing for optimization for these servers. We could add that in. So we added that in. It didn't cause any issues. So there are some things that we can take from squad. I don't want to say it's easy because, that's...
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right.
The stuff that you may think is easy is not easy at all when it comes to game dev. So there is some stuff going back and forth. And I know, like, too, I've heard conversations from squad people. It's like, oh, Squad 44 has that. We can have that. So, like,
right.
You can go back and forth with this stuff. There was something that we also talked about. I think we've been talking about body dragging because that's currently in Squad, and I know people are asking about that. So that's something we could potentially in the future take from Squad and put in Squad 44 for the future. So there is benefits of having it under the same sort of OWI core. It's just a matter of making sure it still works after that sort of divergent,
right,
the code base. So there might be some things that will cause issues, but generally they should work for both games.
And that's a good point, because like I think you called it out exactly, Luna. Like, a lot of the conversation that I hear is like, Squad has this, why doesn't Squad 44 has this? Squad has this, why doesn't so it's nice to know from an outside looking in that's something you guys are considering, and you are leveraging like inside resources too.
Yeah. So yeah, on the outside it looks easy, but it's more so like we need to have someone to actually take a deep dive and see like, how actually viable is it to take this from this? Like, how much is it going to cause issues, or is it going to be an easy transition into the game? I don't know, Katz, if you have anything to add with that.
No, I think it's exactly that. I mean, we're looking at shotguns and flamethrowers from Beyond the Wire. We'd already brought in some of the weapons from Beyond the Wire. That's World War One.
I didn't think about that.
Lots of still in action. I mean, even some of the tanks. I think the French tank and Beyond the Wire we could make use of. So there's still stuff like that we can bring in, not just the mechanics. Squad as well. I think they've got a noise in the Gant in as well. So there's stuff like that we can port over and make our lives a bit easier. When I say port, it's not just as simple as kind of pulling straight over, but having the coders to do it properly and correctly. It takes a bit of time, but can be real good value on it.
And you guys added the, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, like the 50 cal, right? The 50 cal is like from Squad? Was that it? Or one of the assets?
No, the 50 cal was already in, but we brought over a lot of weapons. I think dragging from Squad is definitely one we want to bring over in the future. It's just when we get the time to do it. Whether it comes with the Pacific or after, I'm not sure, but it is our aim to kind of make this game the best we can. So if we can leverage some cool stuff from other games that are in Offworld's portfolio, then definitely. I don't think we'll have any bugs from Starship Troopers, but we've got enough bugs of our own.
Well, you never know. I mean, there could be
Maybe, I
some
don't know.
event, right?
Well, there is something in Starship Troopers. So they have the carnage system, which I don't know if you're familiar with, Raz, but when a bug dies, the corpse stays on the map, and then the bug corpses start piling up, and then the bugs will use them as like bridges to climb into your base. We could get that system. And but I don't know.
That would be interesting.
I don't know if that would be an interesting thing, but that's something that we've talked about. It's like, ooh, should we get the carnage system in and just have,
I very much like to see that.
I'm not making any promises.
I mean, use corpses to get across Arnhem Bridge. Why not? I mean,
would it be something like you physically have to walk over? Like I haven't played Starship Troopers.
It makes a collision. It makes a collision.
Really?
Yeah. And the only way to
I was gonna say, are there any plans to get the zombie mode back up in shape and maybe expand on that?
I don't think that's in the current plans now, but like
'tis the season.
No plans at
I
the
know,
moment.
I have a play tester who's like, here's all the bugs that we have.
So I'm gonna give you a bit.
Oh heck yeah!
So there you go. These guys are just coming in above me, which is really cool. So you can see like the Pegasus flag as well coming in. So awesome effort by the parachute regiment there.
That is so cool. You said this is Arnhem, right?
There's quite a few of them. This is Arnhem, yeah. Great seeing the Union Jack flying, Union flag.
Oh yeah.
There you go. You can see these guys coming in now.
Again, if you guys are just joining, Katz is on location. That is so cool. You said it's like 40 minutes from you?
Yeah. So this is 40 minutes from my house. So I just thought I'd drive across the border because I live in northwest Germany. So I work there. But it's quite cool. Cool seeing that, right?
I think what's crazy for me as like an American is just like all this stuff is like seems so far away. Luna, I'm sure you could probably relate. It's like, this is like, oh yeah, man, that happened some far off land. It's like, and they're just like, I drove down the street.
An hour, 2 hours. Like in Europe, you drive 8 hours, you could go to countries. I drive 8 hours and I'm on the other side of the province. I haven't even left my province yet,
That's crazy. I mean, Vade, I'm sure the same for you. You're out there.
I could go to Arnhem with a bike, maybe. I mean, it would be a good day trip. I mean, I would take it.
Vade meetup? What?
Oh my God.
Could be, I guess so. Yeah.
The Germans have been here before, so I don't know if they wanted today, but yeah.
That is so cool. Yeah, it's just so weird because like just quick side note, like one of our friends, the old community manager was like, I'm gonna be in the US for like this event. Like, how far is it? I was like, let me put it into perspective. From the UK, that would be like the UK to Russia distance in the US. Like, that is so far. But it's just so interesting, like Europe compared to the US. But anyway, back to Scotland. Super cool.
Yeah, sorry, just distracting everyone.
No, that's awesome. So I know, like, as you guys have developed, we kind of talked about the tech debt. What would you say, and I know we have some of the devs in chat as well, what would you say are some of the biggest accomplishments you and the team have been able to do in the past 6 to 8 months, or however you've been taking over the project? And Luna, the same thing. I'm sure you've had a lot of accomplishments too.
I think for us, it's just, I mean, we've had some real big ones. The big thing was not something that was liked too much by the existing community, but something we thought needed to take place. Was the rejuvenation of some of the logistical systems to have a bit more of a friendly spawn system rather than sort of it being a structure. I remember playing games before we took over where you'd be running from the main base. It was a nightmare. So being able to rejuvenate that, albeit not popular at the start, I think people have seen now why it's done and why it's happened, and that's been a big positive, I think, for us to get a stable base and a stable game design to move on from. So that was one. And then the second part of that is sort of the Frontline system, which we brought over from another modder, Adolo had the idea, and we thought, oh, that fits perfectly with this game. You know, that's where we want to go. So we've kind of, I think a lot of gamers will kind of look at it and they see each individual update as like, oh, that's the end of society, right? That's where they want the game to be. But the reality is, it's taken time to develop the game to where we want to get it. You know, even now, we always said we wanted to have it stable, good performance, solid gameplay loop by the summer. Oh, already, no, we're not there yet. We still have work to do. So we're very, very, you know, down to earth and looking at it and go, hey, we need to work on that performance. We need to finalize some little bits of the gameplay loop. And then we know we're in a good place to go with Pacific and otherwise. So we're maybe slightly behind where we are, but I take great pride in the fact that we took over something with no documentation, no infrastructure, nothing. And then in the last few months, we really started to see us put a mark on the game. So our guys have been fantastic. We're doing all that part-time. Yeah, huge pride in our team, both Offworld and Mercury.
And just to jump in real quick, for those that may have never played Squad 44, or those that have played Squad 44, you know, post-scriptum days and haven't jumped in yet, can you explain a little bit about like what Frontline is and like why it's so different than like the normal version?
I'll leave that to Luna. She can talk about a bit more about that, I guess.
Oh,
there you go.
I gotta tap into my game knowledge. Which, honestly, here's the thing: y'all are gonna be better at this game than I will ever be, and y'all are gonna know more than
Vade can
me.
jump in and give some insight too. There you go.
Basically, Frontline is, you know, keeping the game sort of focused on one particular point, and the red zone keeps everybody in a sort of a front line, and the attackers don't know what the objectives are until they complete the first one. So they can't they can maybe guess because all the sort of objectives are on the map when you load in, so they can kind of guess, but they're not going to know where the battle's going to go to. So it just keeps everything really right in the action. I know also too with 100 players that has also added the extra 20 players per map has added a lot more. I've heard I've played a bit too, but it's added a lot more action and it's more exciting. And the objectives are different. Like it's not just like capture this point. They have an objective that's like search for these documents, and you're given maybe 6 or 7 spots, and there's maybe 2 or 3 that actually have documents. So now you got to go and find the documents. It's like there's really unique objectives, and it's constantly evolving. Like I don't know if there's any plans for any other objectives, but like there's a lot of potential with that mode, for sure.
Yeah, possibly. Actually, a dollar messaged me today saying, "Hey, I've got some other ideas for some other objectives in it." So, maybe we can do that. But yeah, I think for me, it's a much more immersive mode, and that's what we've done. Offensive was predictable. People would go behind the lines to play the kind of commando role. Frontline is more. Yeah, I mean, I guess it'll get predictable over time because people will memorize things and stuff. You know, the hardcore player you can never plan against because they love the game. So yeah,
Vade.
that's cool. Vade.
Hey, leave me out of this.
I think it's a lot more. It gives the defenders more of an advantage while putting the attackers under pressure with time and tickets. But you know, I'd definitely be curious to hear from Vade, you know, what your experience has been. You know, you can throw back at us and say, "Well, I think this is better offensive or stuff." But yeah, I'd love to hear what a long-term player thinks as well.
I was gonna say, so definitely, I really like Frontlines because everything you said is true. So we have a new mode that kind of chooses a balance, I'd say, and yeah, it's definitely more action-packed. But like, you have maps where offensive can be really action-packed, but it's highly dependent on the map and especially the layer. And I always felt like way back in the day already, we have amazing maps that are almost like sandbox maps because we have so much potential points, so many cool farms and stuff all over. Back in the day it was only Holland, now it's all over Europe basically. But I felt like we never tapped in the full potential because we always played the one layer everybody knows by heart at some point, and especially on like when the game was in a very bad spot player wise. I mean, it was the same 80 guys basically every evening, and it was the same game every time because everybody did the same thing. The MSPs and FOBs and stuff were in the same places every game, and so it just got boring. And as you said, like the commando tactics, they can be sensible, but it's kind of exploiting the game to a point. I mean, sure, it's all inside the game still, and it's all valid, but I feel like hunting MSP is not anything seriously. I mean, it's not historical. It doesn't make any sense. It's just a game thing, basically. And so I'm really happy
we wanted to get away from that.
Yeah.
Spawn Hunter Simulator is what we started calling it. It was
yeah, exactly.
It was getting to that point. Yeah.
And obviously it worked, but that's not the game Squad 44 wants to be. At least that's what I feel like. And I mean, the whole point is to make use of the sections and all the tools you have in a realistic way. And that's where the game should be heading. And I feel like Frontlines is very good at that. Like focusing the chaos, basically, more or less. And I just dig the extra objectives, because like taking a point is great, but sometimes just, even if you can't take it, but just getting a satchel in at the last second is better than just winning a normal game. Just more tense and more interesting, I feel. And so I'm really keen to see what you guys will bring in the future. Like more objectives, more obscure stuff to do.
Yeah, that's good to hear. But there's something I really wanted to do, which was, and I think it's feasible. We were talking to Dolo about it before, but hostage rescue.
Ooh.
So, yeah, we thought that would be really cool. So you could have pretty much an NPC or tied down to a chair, animated, struggling or whatnot, and then you've got to get to that player, and just like you have with the documents, maybe we make it squad leaders have to get there and press F on it, and then that player will then stand up and maybe disappear. But the idea of a bit of a hostage rescue, which could be in any of these buildings or locations, and you've got to go find it, and that could be quite cool, something like that.
That's really interesting. I like the fact that you're looking into different game modes, and again, being someone that has not played Squad 44 nearly as much as Vade, I personally enjoyed the Frontline game mode because it does kind of do the like you can feel the 100-player battle. I think, from my perspective, like you can feel the difference between before and after the 100-player update.
Oh, for sure.
So, yeah, I think it really does feel crazy big, and like you see the troops like attacking or falling back and getting flanked by like the extra squad that's basically there now. So I think it's pretty neat.
It's crazy how much just a couple more players, how it adds to the action and the immersion. It's so cool.
Oh yeah. I wonder, how do you guys find tank survivability now with 100 players? Because I know a few players were saying, "Oh, we're really worried about it," but we didn't add any more AT mechanics, so it's less AT. Well, it's the same amount of AT, but more infantry potentially to stop the AT getting through. So I'm very curious how you guys find it, because you both play tanks quite a fair bit. So obviously Vade does, because I watch all his videos. I guess it's a good time.
I'll defer that to Vade, because I have like a mixed experience, but never as consistent as him.
I was going to say the survivability of us two playing tanks is not representative at all, so we should leave that out of the picture. No, but seriously, I feel like AT is in a really good spot, because like sometimes, you get killed by AT in a tank and you think it's unfair. But then again, I mean, people in the forums will tell you over and over again, we'll just get infantry protection. Try to tell that to the infantry in game, it never works. But that's a different story. But at the end of the day, I feel like it's more about team play now. So if you have two tanks working together, that's more or less unstoppable. If you have a good infantry team working against tanks with the commander, it's almost unbeatable for the tanks. So I feel like now it's much more up to skill, I'd say, because a good AT gunner can still do a lot of damage, because we have all the tools we need, basically, if we want to take down a tank. It is very much down to game knowledge, basically. You really need to know your shit. You really need to know where to shoot and what to track and whatever, and all the tanks we have. The one thing I will say is that now that we have so many more tanks, it's really hard to... Well, before it was easy. You had like your Panzer IV, the Panther, the one of the big cats, whatever, and you had the Sherms and the British tanks. Now we have like, you added 40 vehicles a few patches ago, so now, I mean, you never know what's coming around the corner.
You say that.
And that makes it much harder for AT, obviously, because, I mean, you get the recognition manual to know where to shoot a Sherman, but then suddenly it's something entirely else, and you have no idea. Obviously, you can learn, and people are adapting, obviously, but I feel like that adds to realism, because a trooper down in the trenches, he wouldn't know what's coming, and it doesn't really matter. And you just shoot the tank and hope for the best. Obviously, they were trained, and so are the gamers, basically. But still, I feel like AT is in a good spot. The thing I'm gonna say is, like, tank on tank sometimes is wonky. So especially that's what I've noticed with the new vehicles. Sometimes shells do weird stuff. Sometimes the damage models do weird stuff. But I don't know. It's hard to say from like a commander's perspective in a tank what's happening on the other side. And I feel like that's a lot of what we see in the forums and on Discord is like people complaining endlessly, as always, about everything. But like, you could basically, you have the tankers complaining and the AT, and it's basically the same on both sides. So, I mean, I know how the spaghetti code works, like to an extent. So you can't just fix the problem. What is the problem? No idea. I mean, you can't even recreate it, even if you try, even in the editor. So how can you fix something that's not there, basically? So, I mean,
I think a lot was APC. Is it APC BC HE or something along those lines? There was an issue with the AT spawning within the tank and stuff.
Yeah.
But I had thought we got to the bottom of that till this conversation. Now I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like,
okay, we need to look at that now.
You fix you fix the spawning. Like the last patch changed the spawning, and you see the difference in game. You feel the difference, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. It's like chasing ghosts, basically. I don't know if it'll ever be. I mean, and it's so much complexity now, because like back in the day, way back, it was like, okay, you shoot the tank 3 times and you ammo rack him and he's done, basically. And now the tanks are so complex, I wouldn't even want to try to fix or like change anything, because I mean, each of the 50 vehicles now has so much inside it. Yeah, and I think people forget that. Like,
it's a lot of work on it. Yeah,
because
we will try, but
obviously, sure.
Say, it is like hunting. What is it? You know, where those things pop up at the fair and then you hit one.
Yeah, whack-a-mole. Yeah,
there we go. We're on whack-a-mole. Yeah, that's pretty much where we are with this game at times. But I think that's most game devs, to be honest, from what I've seen.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. It's always the same, right?
I've worked on a lot of games, and it's it's whack-a-mole.
So, Vade, you brought up a good topic, and I think this is one of the questions I had listed here. And this is something that myself and Fresh Baked Goods are always curious about, a game specific to Squad 44. So again, if you don't know Squad 44, I would put it a lot more on the hardcore side of the spectrum, milsim side, as compared to something like Battlefield, Call of Duty, obviously, like Hell Let Loose even would be far more arcadey than this game. And I think things like Arma, Squad 44 tend to find it difficult at times in enthralling new players, right? Because specifically Squad 44 has a fairly small player base historically, not so much anymore as it's grown, but those people are such veterans. So how do you guys plan, kind of like currently what you've been doing, and long term, like future proofing, to keep the game fresh and engaging for those new players coming into it?
Yeah, so I can totally understand that, the barrier of entry coming in. And like with Squad, there is a bit of a tutorial where they, walk you through it, and they give you, the basic training and stuff like that. Fun fact, the person who voices Squad's basic training is like my big boss. So hearing him, he used to be a former Marine, but like he's so nice. But then hearing like, oh wow, you're so slow, and hurry up, you lazy, and I'm just like, oh my god, like it's so weird hearing his voice say that to me.
That's
but
funny.
anyways, we're looking into, I think, right now with our playtesters, we're looking into tutorial scripting and making sure that we have better tutorials in game. I do want to work with some content creators in terms of like making like how to videos, and have those maybe in game as well that people can click on. One of my projects is getting the wiki together and making sure we have that filled out before the launch of the Pacific, because once it's the Pacific, you're good to see a lot more attention, with marketing, with videos, with promo and stuff like that. We are expecting a lot of new players to come in. So I want to make sure that we have these things in place so that it's easier. And one thing that's super great that I found with the Squad 44 community is everyone's super helpful. If you just say, I'm new, I don't know what I'm doing, like there's a lot of people in the Discord, in game, who are just like, yeah, here's what you do. They want more people to join this game. So, saying that you're new is super beneficial in this game because everybody wants to teach. I remember when I first started, I said on a live stream, I want to learn armor. So if somebody wants to reach out, and I had someone reach out to me and I got to go in an armor squad and they taught me and it was so much fun. And those are the best experiences, is having a veteran player, someone who's been really passionate about the game, teach you, because it's just like you feel their passion and it's just so nice. So yeah, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff that we need to do to make sure that it's a little more the barrier to entry is less. And I think also with our off-world titles, like with Squad and Squad 44, we really, you know, emphasize communication and teamwork, which, with other games, there might be some sort of lone wolfing or like, that sort of Rambo fantasy, type thing. But it's like, no, you got to stick with your team. You're going to get the most out of the game if you're communicating with your team, if you're, working together. Those are the best games that you're going to have. So, yeah. I don't know, Katz, if you want to add.
Yeah, I mean, for sort of playability, lots of games use stuff like ranked and things like that, where the player can kind of grind out a rank. So I'm serving military, and I hate ranked in computer games. Like I'm the general, I'm the colonel. I don't get it. But what I do like is something that when I played a long time ago, Medal of Honor Allied Assault, and I don't know if you guys remember, but in single player, you used to have a medals box. And if you accomplished certain things in a game or did something faster or whatever, you got a medal for it. So I quite like the idea of medals for skill, right? So say you heal over 20 people in a game, then why can't you get a medal in your medal box that reflects that? So, and it encourages people to then heal each other who are medics and stuff like that to qualify to get that medal and then the next one up or whatever. Same for, say, headshots. So it encourages accuracy, right? Same for, I mean, the only thing I think about time would be like squad leading. But I love the idea of a medals box in games so that players can get accomplishments based on how good they are. And it would be awesome if we could then show that, but not obviously in like games where you unlock weapons or whatever based on how long you've been playing. Like, I think it'd be better to just kind of like have a bit of pride. Look, I'm pretty good at what I do. So I think something like that to recognize the players would be really cool. And I think that would encourage players, old and new, to think, hey, I can unlock that. So say we say you have to get 50 kills in a game to get the Medal of Honor. I guarantee there'll be a lot of players trying to get that 50 kills in the game, right? So cool. It's stuff like that we could do. We could maybe make that factionalized. That is a long way off. That is Katz's kind of dream. Yeah. But it's something that could potentially happen, if we get the resources to look into it. And after the Pacific, who knows? We could be looking at that. We could be looking at a potential engine upgrade. We could be looking at all sorts of things, to make sure the game has some legs to keep going for old and new players.
That's awesome. So it seems like a lot of more legwork on the front end of it as far as like the onboarding, but the gameplay wise, it's going to stay hardcore, true to its like Squad 44 roots, which is great. I think
I mean, there's plenty of battlefields out there. There's plenty of Call of Duties, with the way you can grind, unlock your weapons, get your pink weapon skin, whatever. And I'm here today at Market Garden, and I look at the game through that lens of kind of like, hey, we want to do the right thing by the game. We want to respect history. So therefore, we need to do this right, really, and that's kind of how I look at it. So a hardcore team-based shooter that respects history and doesn't abuse it for profit. That's where I'm at. Yeah.
Awesome. That's good to hear. Because again, like I think Squad 44 has such a unique take on the World War II scene that you don't want to oversaturate Battlefield, etc.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was gonna say,
it's so good.
We've seen like the thing is, I feel like people tend to I don't know, switch up or mix up hardcore shooting or like gameplay or hardcore games or hard games basically with realism. It's not the same. Like having a hard game where you die a lot and it's frustrating, whatever, is one thing, but having a realistic experience in terms of like historical accuracy is a different topic altogether. And I don't think you can, like, we shouldn't mix it up. So because that's the beauty of Squad 44 in my eyes. We can do stuff in this game that is unthinkable in any other game I know. Like, it's incredible what you can do with this, like, sort of basically World War II sandbox, so to speak, because we have all the tools and they work in a realistic fashion. And that's what I really love about this game, that the basic everyday gameplay is a normal shooter, so to speak, but if you want to, you can get so much more out of it if you communicate, if you play together, if you use all the assets you have. And I mean, I've seen people do stuff you wouldn't believe, like trying to, I don't know, cheat the system, so to speak, but like in a realistic fashion, and use tactics that you wouldn't expect in a video game, and yet they work. And that's the beauty, I think. And yeah, that's what really sets Squad 44 apart in my eyes. So yeah.
Yeah, I would agree.
No, I fully agree. I think it's quite cool that the players can kind of have that element of tactics. You know, you'll come across squad leaders who'll say, right, everyone get your smokes out. And then you'll come across other ones who'll say, don't get your smokes out, because it'll tell them where we're coming from. You know, it's quite cool that you can have multiple different play styles. You'll find that some logic guys who are very offensive, some who are very defensive, you know, some who play just support. I quite like that the game can be anything to anyone, which is cool.
Yeah, agreed. So we got about 20 minutes or so left, so I figure we transition to probably what everyone is really wanting and excited for. So if you haven't heard, Squad 44 announced like a month ago at this point now, the Pacific is coming. So super excited for the Pacific. I think it'll be one of the first games in recent time to do Pacific for World War II. What are some of the I mean, I guess let me let you guys just take over, and just what are some of your plans for the Pacific that you can talk about, and then we'll kind of dive into some of those like gameplay changes that you anticipate, map changes, etc. Because obviously it's a totally different topography, everything.
Yeah, right now, the plan for the Pacific, we have confirmed Iwo Jima will be the first map. The content will be coming over multiple updates, and it will be coming towards the end of the year, so into December. That's when you're going to see more Pacific content. Right now, yeah, Iwo Jima, we're not going to be having the full map. Let me just plug this. I'm going to be doing a live stream where I might show off some of the maps. So, Raz viewers, come to twitch.tv/squad44official.
And you can check out the Discord link in tag pinned. It'll be in YouTube, I'm sure, of mine and Vade's video. And right now it's pinned inside of the Twitch chat. You can click that link. It'll pull you to the Discord for Squad 44, and you can stay in the loop for all the new announcements. So when she does have that live stream, she'll let you know right away. So make sure you stay in the loop. So sorry, go ahead.
Poach all your viewers, you know.
No,
I gotta take that opportunity.
Absolutely.
You know? So yeah, we will be showing off some work in progress things soon. But I'm very excited, and one of our level designers has been working on the Iwo Jima tunnels under the mountain, and they're looking good. They're looking real good. Katz, if you wanna.
Yeah. I just think it's an amazing map. So from what I've seen so far, the guys have been doing a fantastic job. You know, we've watched lots of films. I'm sure everyone else has. And in every single film, Iwo Jima is a burnt-out wasteland of black sand everywhere. And actually, it's been interesting when we've been doing historical research on all of that we've seen there were green areas. You know, the Japanese didn't just have tunnels when they were living there for 4 years. They actually had buildings that were there. I mean, yes, mostly in ruins after the bombardment, but they did have buildings, and we've been getting pictures come through and all sorts of things that have been really useful to help our level designers putting together the trench network, which is mirroring the trenches that were actually there. So that's cool. We've got the AA sort of little bunker areas. They're being mirrored. The actual buildings on the airfield are going in kind of one-to-one there. So it's been amazing seeing it get built, because actually what we get sold in lots of films is not necessarily what actually was there. So we've kind of taken the more realistic take to quite a large extent. Yes, you will see large burnt out sections. Yes, you will see these incredibly elaborate tunnel networks that genuinely look amazing already, with the lights flickering, going on and off as well, with the bombardment. That looks incredible. You will see rockets coming in, Corsairs firing rockets for the commander call-ins, all this sort of stuff, rocket ships being fired. It is going to be really interesting to see all of that, but then also some stuff that I think films didn't show you. So you should get to see a bit of the reality there as well of what the life was living on the airfield kind of thing. Because, yeah, contrary to what maybe lots of films tell you, the Japanese did not live in caves for 4 years while they were there. So, yeah.
Really cool. I think, like, for me, one of the interesting dynamics will be, like, traditionally, and Vade, feel free to jump in. Like, I feel traditionally Postscriptum Squad 44 have had very wide open maps, and I think that's, like, it's real good niche. Like, it has very wide open maps. Obviously, most of these are set in the European, if not all of them, right? Set in the European theater. I feel that, like, in the Pacific, a lot of those wide open would be, Katz, to your point, probably around the airfield. But I mean, you're mentioning like tunnel structures. I mean, obviously, like there's the giant mountain on Iwo Jima. You're not doing the whole island, I understand, because the island's fairly big. But like, how do you foresee the topography and the environment, like dense forests, impacting gameplay and strategy?
So you won't really come across too many dense forests there. You might come across quite a few broken forests, burnt out or forests and stuff like that. But it will be an entire new environment. It's entire new uniforms to try and spot in that environment as well. And having the tunnel network is really cool because you can go in one way and someone might come up the other way. So it's going to be a bit. I think what we want to achieve going forward is to create that immersive environment. Squad 44 can be really good at that, and that's what we want to kind of focus on. So you've got a realistic, immersive environment that players, when they come in, I want them to think, wow, I don't want them to get PTSD, but I want them to get the experience.
As close to as possible.
I want them to have that experience. And I think when you talk to our level designers next week, Lena, I'm sure that will come across in how accurate they've tried to be in piecing out the trenches. I know a big thank you goes to the QAs and stuff as well, because we've been using them to help us get some research put together, and they've provided maps, they've provided all sort of pictorial evidence of exact bunkers and stuff. So that's been really useful. We do have to use some artistic license because, frankly, a lot of the destroyed buildings and things of that nature, there isn't that much imagery of it. But we have used, say, imagery of adjacent islands where you'll see sort of a standardization of ATC towers or admin buildings. We've tried to use stuff like that to reflect what might have been there at Iwo Jima, but just to have it as immersive and accurate as possible to what research we have.
That's super exciting. Vade, I guess, like as a experienced player, what are some of the things I think you're thinking of that you want to ask the devs, like right off the top, around the Pacific?
So the most important question is obviously, can I tie myself up on a palm tree? Is that going to be a feature? No, but seriously, maybe one thing.
Maybe we can have logistics placeable palm trees.
That would be good. Yeah.
Sniper trees.
Maybe for another map. I don't think there are many palm trees on these maps, but yeah, maybe for another.
Just a wasteland.
How much Pacific are we talking? Like, so we're getting Iwo Jima on the first release, but like, how many maps are you planning on? Can you talk about that? Like, are we gonna see different?
Did we reveal that? I don't remember if I've talked
about
it.
I don't think we've revealed that. I think we'll see how sort of the first one goes down and then see how extended we want to make it as a chapter potentially. But what I would say is obviously one's been officially announced. We do have two others in mind. But let's see how Iwo Jima goes down and we'll see numbers then. I don't think I'll put a number on it now because, if it proves very popular, then it could be an area of growth for the game to go into, that theatre. What I would say though is, as much as the Pacific really interests me, learning from it as a European who doesn't know that much about it, whose focus is mostly European-based stuff, I would love to see stuff like the Chindits in Burma or the Chinese faction as well. So if that was an area of growth, it doesn't necessarily just have to be, say island hopping things for if we wanted to continue it. But yeah, we have to see. We'll see how many buy the game, see how sustainable it is in terms of development then, and hopefully we can have a long future of looking at the development of that theatre as well as others.
You gotta do a company trip to Hawaii.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Mercury Arts.
That'd be good.
All you guys going. That'd be fun. Oh my god.
Maybe when we announce, maybe when we announce the next few maps, I could do that from Pearl Harbor. So yeah, that'd be cool.
That would be cool. So cool. Dev diary from there.
I got to go to Pearl Harbor, and that was really cool. Yeah.
It'd be wonderful if Offworld funded that. I mean, yeah, that'd be brilliant.
It would be, wouldn't it?
What are some of the I don't know if you've announced this yet, but what are some of the units that you're having? This is a viewer question at Iwo Jima. I know you guys always typically try to have the actual units that are at those specific battles. Have you guys decided which unit? Is that not something we can announce yet? I have no idea.
Yeah, the units have been decided. They are the ones that are correct for being there. I don't have it right in front of me now, but I think it's one of the Japanese regiments and one of the Marine divisions. I can't remember exact numbers right now. Sorry. Yeah. But they will follow, who fought there, realistically. Yeah.
Awesome. And you kind of like mentioned something else. You're like, yeah, we're doing Pacific, and like, whatever other we decide to do in the future. Like, what are you talking about there? Like, you potentially want to do other factions, other fronts?
I think I mean, for me, I love this game, and I will just I'd love to keep going if we can to do other sort of factions and theaters. That would be brilliant. I would love Squad 44 to just be the World War II game, right? It's not just about the fronts people know, it's about kind of the whole conflict, and I would love to showcase that and do the kind of the conflict justice, not just kind of in Europe or the Pacific, but also in other places as well. So yeah, that'd be brilliant, but nothing announced. Again, just on my wish list. Of course. One day.
Of course.
Yeah. And something that we've always said is Offworld, we have it planned up to the Pacific. After that, the sky's the limit. Like, yeah, there's a lot of potential, but yeah, we want to see how the Pacific lands and then figure out where we're going from there. There are some preliminary plans, but I can't say anything about that.
All good. And Katz, you sent me over an image of a handful of different guns. That's okay if I go ahead and show that to stream real quick?
Yeah, that's fine. What I would say is these were work in progress. Some of these you might have seen in the last sort of dev stream where we showcased some of the weapons that have now been animated and textured. This is just to give you an idea of this was one artist, a very, very talented weapon artist called Red Rogue, who has been fantastic with us. And he's been doing most of our weapons for both factions, really. So our new weapons for the USMC as well. So just give you an idea of sort of the scale and the scope of the weaponry that you guys are going to get to play with when the new faction comes.
Awesome. We're taking a look at it right now. Tons of cool weapons. Very, very excited for the Pacific. I don't think anyone's really done it justice. I think the last best one was Battlefield 5. Battlefield 5 did the Pacific pretty well, I think.
Yeah, we've taken a bit of inspiration from them with like the tunnels, because the tunnels from them were incredible. We've tried to take a bit of inspiration from them, and we've tried to find the maps to be a bit more accurate. So, yeah, you should get, we will try our best to give the best experience we can of that battle.
Could you imagine that that function of like the body stacking up like in the tunnels and just blocking entire tunnels? That would be nuts. Oh, I'm so excited.
Well, in Troopers, the only way you get rid of those bodies is you got to melee them or a flamethrower. So We might.
I mean, I
look
guess.
at that.
I don't know. We've
Laura
talked about, we keep talking about it.
I'm telling you.
We can't
That'd be
guarantee, but I know Katz wants that if it's possible.
That'd be so
desperate
cool.
to play flamethrowers and shotguns. Desperate. I think it'd be awesome to be just sort of like trying to come out of your cave and then just seeing someone stood in the entrance silhouetted against the sky and just flame
Oh
coming
man.
straight at you. It'd be like that'll be interesting. Yeah.
I imagine are you gonna use some kind of interpretation when it comes to shotguns, like chunky, like good chunks kind of coming out with the shotguns, almost like cinematic, or more like just maybe like an arm pops off or something?
Well, we're waiting to. I think it'll use the existing gore system, so it won't be too dissimilar from the existing gore
Nice.
system.
Y'all are
Nice.
obsessed with gore. I don't get it,
Oh,
man.
I mean,
Every stream, people are like, "Will this dismember people? Will this?"
It
And I'm
has
just like,
to. It has
y'all are sickos. What's going on?
it's a really weird thing, you know, when you shoot someone for the first time with an anti-tank rifle and see them explode, you
Oh
realize
my
it's a part of
God.
you that never existed before. You're like,
It's
wow,
so
that's in there.
fun. It's
my
so
God.
fun. I love the PTRS and the boys AT. I've been using that a ton. It's been great. Vade, I'll hand it over to you for our last couple of questions here.
Yeah, I have a few from the community. So,
Yeah.
how are you guys balancing right now the workload on the Pacific and maybe the quality of life stuff for the existing chapters? Is there like a split inside of your team, or is everything focused on Pacific right now?
I would say 99% is focused on the Pacific. That said, the coders aren't. So the coders work across multiple projects, but we'll be getting more time back on Squad 44 from them soon. So that means things like an easy anti-cheat upgrade, which might then improve Linux compatibility, so to allow Linux players to be able to access the game. That's a big one I want to see. DLSS upgrade, which can then help performance profiling as well. This can all be done by the coders, and that doesn't then impact on the Japanese stuff, because when you're just adding, I mean, it's a lot of work. When you're adding a new faction, you're talking about, your animators, your 3D modelers, your level designers, your sound guys. They're the ones who are going to be focused on that. The coders are actually less pulled into that. They'll mostly use existing stuff, or, we've used our blueprinters to kind of refine certain things. Say commander call-ins and things like that, the blueprinters have been able to refine. So that means the coders, when they come back, they'll be entirely focused on profiling, performance, DLSS, and easy anti-cheat kind of thing coming in. So that should help give that quality of life at the same time, as well as maybe dragging and flamethrowers and shotguns. But yeah, that's kind of what we're looking at.
And then just to add to that, I don't know if y'all saw on Twitter, we showed off, we have one blueprinter working on a seeding mode to help server hosters and server seeding. And I don't know if this has been announced yet, but I'll just say it. We are working on some admin cam updates that I think if you do like Eye in the Sky or tournaments or stuff like that, this will also help with server administration, but it's some good looking admin cam stuff that's also happening in the background.
That's great.
So, I hope I can show some of that off soon, because it's stuff that people have been asking for a while, content creators and server admins and stuff like that. So I think it's a long time coming.
Specifically.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, he's gonna love it. He's gonna love it.
I'm sure. That's awesome.
I think I had so we sat down, myself, the CEO of Offworld, and Moy, for I think about an hour and a half or 2 hours or something, and he was great, because he didn't pull any punches. He said, "Hey, this needs to be looked at. This needs to be sorted. This can help admins. This can help streamers. I'm quite a new player to it. So why does it do that? Why doesn't it do this? Can you make that easier?" And so we sat down and went, "Yeah, okay, we can do that. We can do this. We can do that."
That's awesome.
So, a recent upgrade to the game was instead of it just saying when you're wounded that there's a medic nearby, it tells you where the nearest player is as well. Because they have morphine as well in Squad 44. So that was a good idea. So that came from my dog. Thank him. Another thing that we've been looking at is, so on the mini-map before, if a point was being captured by either faction, it might just be grey. It doesn't actually show you on the minimap the progression of the capture point. So that's changed now. It'll show the flag going up or down on the minimap. So you don't have to ask people in the height of battle whether they're still capping or not, because you can check it on your own map. And it's little things like this that just improve the accessibility for new players and give that a bit more quality of life. I think that hopefully will help players surmount that kind of learning curve, really.
Yeah. And also, I think way back when we did the acquisition, I had reached out to community reps and server hosters of like, what tools do you guys need? And I have a big document of all that sort of stuff. So all the changes that are currently being worked on are going to be, we take it from that feedback. Also, that meeting that you guys had, and yeah, we got a lot of good feedback, and we're working towards it. So, yeah.
Okay, another question I have would be, of course, regarding tanks. So people were wondering, are you gonna revisit? So we talked about the damage models as they are in game right now, but especially the driving mechanics, because I know you tweaked a lot about like driving and gears and stuff. But still, people were wondering, will you look at more like tweaks for the different vehicles and try to optimize more to make it more like accessible for driving and gunning and stuff?
I think so. With this, it's quite difficult because we also got the limitations of the engine. So people will remember that there was issues where servers were crashing and things like that. The reason being was we tried to bring in sort of realistic handling for the tanks, and for some of them that resulted in so like the way you set them up, there's like kind of a weight to power kind of ratio, and otherwise in the game, in the engine. Sorry, I'm not a massive expert on this particular area, but we found that this was one of the reasons that the servers were crashing and performance was getting ditched, because the tanks would just keep going and keep going because we couldn't get that balance right. So what we've got at the moment perhaps isn't ideal, but it's not crashing the servers and killing performance. So it's something to build on maybe in future where we can kind of refine it. But given there's so many vehicles and each vehicle is unique and different, it would be a lot of work to do. That's not saying no. It's probably saying just not yet to look at that as a priority. We've got quite a lot on the table at the moment.
It's not something that you can paint over with like a general, brush. You'd have to go to each individual thing and tweak each individual one. Yeah. So yeah,
And
people have specific
vehicles
ones that people have specific ones that they, hate. I mean, I just in general hate driving armored vehicles because I'm just not.
Oh, I love it actually. I feel like it
all right, you're the
well.
driver then. You
yeah, that's fine.
Every single time.
Vade yells at me when I'm gunning.
Oh yeah.
It's okay.
It's not like I'm not yelling when you're driving.
Stop.
Oh,
I've seen the video. It's brilliant.
That's how it goes.
Is that a tiger? Left.
Oh, so great.
You may not like it, but this is what peak performance looks like.
Exactly. The questions you had there from the community, Vade.
Well, one final one maybe. Will there be further like balancing to adjust the changes you did? Like you updated the game to 100 players, but like the core of squad sizes and the amounts of tanks, logi and stuff is the same. You did add a lot of like new vehicles, more like the old vehicles got a new spawn system and stuff. But will there be another pass of like looking at the balancing of maybe we need a bit more support troops or something like that with 100 players?
We didn't change anything originally because we thought, hey, we'll watch, we'll play, we'll see how it kind of goes down and take player feedback from that. So we've not really discussed any changes yet to that kind of profile, and it's very likely that the Japanese will release as it is kind of currently to stay in line with that. After that, I think, as I say, we'll keep getting kind of data. I know people have talked about another logistics squad, and certainly another tank squad. I think would be good. We've got the most advanced tanking system of any game, and yet we limit it to 2 tank squads. So yeah, that definitely is one way I think we should look at opening up more, like another tank squad. So maybe make it 3. But I do like, it's something that Lena said earlier about the amount of players. So when you've got infantry, the infantry are on the point, right? And it makes the point a lot more sort of, you've got that fight a lot more kind of like close in that. Whereas when you had 80, it did feel quite spaced out. So the only thing that I would be a bit cautious with is that, yes, we've given an extra 10 players per side. Do we want to then take them back away from the cap? You know, do we want to then take it back away from the objective? So I think another tank squad would be good. But then in terms of logistics and otherwise, I don't think there's too much of a requirement, because logistics, they already got 2 trucks. All of them can build anything. So that's still 2 guys with trucks that can build, I think, 4 fobs off each on 1 run. So the spawn system will still work with 100 players. You know, so I think that's fine. If we ever looked at sort of like we talked about for HE, TNT, kind of things like that, maybe not having persistent ammo. So for rifles and stuff like that, spawning with ammo fresh each time, but maybe for like anti-tank and things like that, maybe having that. If that then required more logistics runs, then maybe we'd look at that kind of thing to support that. But we haven't got that on the table at the moment. It's just one that we're kind of talking about, considering the pros and cons still before, you know, we do anything either for or against that. It's just, you know, so I think at the moment, maybe we'll add in another tank squad, but after that, it's kind of, we'll again watch. I don't think we'll do anything revolutionary straight away.
Okay, I was thinking about along the lines, like not maybe add another squad, but like have, for example, the radio man that now doesn't need to refresh the rally anymore, have him share like the burden, like do
So
a
nice.
spin-off of the fire team system in squad maybe,
Yeah.
like where he can help the squad
Marcus
leader and yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I think that would be a great thing to do. For the radio man, I believe we need to go into the code for that to allow him to then place markers. It's something I've said I think would be very useful as well to make it easier for the squad leaders. You know, it's someone with another set of binoculars, so it kind of makes sense to do that. There's things we can maybe do as well to improve squad gameplay, you know, with the mini map and markers and things like that. So it's not just people running off and marking stuff, but that, you know, they are tied to their squad to be able to access those marks on the mini map and stuff like that. That's stuff that we're still talking about and debating about. Frankly, once we've got the Japanese faction out, we'll probably all sit down and say, you know, hey, do we think this will work? What's the problems? What's the pros? What's the cons? Yeah, and have that discussion, and probably bring in our QAs as well to see what they think, because it's you know, there's lots of things we can kind of bring in to change mechanics, and the one thing that we've learned so far is not to do it without having a proper sit down and going through all of the pros, cons, and what if they manage to somehow turn it on its head and get it on top of a building? You know, the unlikely stuff. So yeah, so there's lots of options there, but I do think you're right. Radios being able to mark for squad leads will be very useful. Just we then don't want them kind of just running off and not being near the squad lead, and that takes away from their role. So, you know, it's just thinking through the pros, cons, and the what ifs of doing stuff like that. So.
Awesome. Great answers. Great questions. And I think that kind of closes us up here. We're right a little over time. It's perfect. Guys, I really appreciate you guys for coming out, chatting with us. I'm super excited for your next stream, Luna. So excited to keep watching more of the Pacific stuff come out.
Yeah, I haven't announced it yet. It's either this week or it's going to be next week. This week is going to be super busy for me, so I might reschedule it to next week or the following.
So she just announced it that it'll be next following thing.
No specific date or time yet. But
make sure you're checking out the Discord.
Yeah, and it will be a level design focus. I think what I'm going to do before is I'll put a question in the Discord. Join the Discord. In the forums, I'll put a looking for Q&As that are level design specific. But yeah, we're going to get the level designers to come and sort of talk about that for this.
Yeah, they've done a great job. I mean, they've kind of led the charge for quite a lot of the last few phases. So yeah, I think they'll do a great job. And I'm disappearing now away for 3 weeks. So yeah,
nice.
they can fill the gap, right? So that's cool.
Yes.
So yeah, I'll be disappearing to go get married, and they can do the hard work in my stead. So that's good.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. Congrats.
I hope they'll be drinking wine on stream again.
Yes.
As
Yeah,
tradition.
I hope so. As is tradition for Mercury, yeah.
Perfect. Well, Luna, Katz, thank you so much for being here. Vade, our expert, thank you guys so much for being here. Chat, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, make sure you check out the Discord. Join Squad 44. It'll be linked in mine and Vade's bio. It's also pinned here in the comments. And that's about it.
Thanks so much, you guys. This is fun.
Thank you for having us.
Always,
Yeah,
always fun.
Thank you so
All right,
much.
guys. See you later. Signing off.
Bye bye.
Have a good one.